speaker today is Tim Matthews, and he's an old lag of...
No, there's Matthew Williams.
Oh, yeah. I told you, Tim Matthews, Matthew Williams, that I can never get them right in my brain. Anyway, I digress. Matthew Williams, not Tim Matthews. Tim Matthews is stuck in traffic somewhere. Matthew Williams, our first speaker. He's an old lag, as I was saying, of the Weird Weekend. Oh, come on, he's not that bad.
They don't want to see me. They don't want to see me.
He's an old lag of the Weird Weekend. He's probably the world's leading expert on crop circles, and he's created quite a few in his time. And he's here to tell us about some of the strange events that have gone on when he's been making crop circles. And this year he's got an absolute humdinger. The weirdest thing he's ever seen so far, a scoutmaster at daybreak filling his glove with peanuts. Take it away.
Well, after an entry like that, yes, I'm sorry I'm not Tim Matthews. I'll try harder next time. Try to be Tim Matthews next time. Yes, I'm a crop circle maker. So I suppose that makes me a bit of a strange breed, because people don't understand a lot about crop circle makers, and there's a lot of myths out there about what circle makers are and what we do. But hopefully I'll break some of those myths tonight. And I don't know, how many of you have seen my lectures before? A little show of hands, right? Oh, so there's some people who don't know what a complete and utter circle maker I am. So yeah. I've got my notes. Let's get me notes. We might run over a bit because I think I was meant to be on at 7, so I think if I've got an hour, that means we'll be getting out at 8:30. So, first of all, I was going to explain the principles behind circle making very quickly. People go out to make crop circles with boards and planks, feet, surveyor's tape measures, which are like the types you get in Focus, which have got a little handle on the side that you can wind out. And those are quite useful because they are made out of fiberglass, the material, so it doesn't stretch. And that's quite important for creating accurate circles that have good, clean edges. You don't want wobbly edges. And you can tell the types of circles that have been made by new teams because A, they don't hold the tapes really tight to the point where they're cutting off the circulation in their fingers as they're holding it whilst the person is scribing the outside, and also because if somebody's used anything other than surveyor's tape, it probably will stretch. The rope will stretch, nylon will stretch, all those things are no good. It takes about 20 minutes for your eyes to adjust to the dark. Now people say you can't make crop circles because it's done at night, and of course the reason crop circles are made at night is for effect, so that the morning after, when people discover these things, there'll be an amazing circle that wasn't there the day before. And it is possible to work at night. 20 minutes, your eyes adjust to the dark. You can see people in the fields. In fact, on a normal night, you don't have any problem just seeing the shadowy figures of your friends in the field. If it was a moonlit night, as one circle maker put it, you'd call it off because it would be too bright. And anyone could look into that field, and once their eyes had adjusted to the dark, they'd see you in there. So, I think we've got some slides. I'm going to show you tonight a different side to circle making, because in previous years I've concentrated on the circle making from the point of view of my interactions with researchers and how this has led to sort of wars between circle makers and researchers, because researchers really don't believe, a lot of them, that circle makers are out there doing what they do. And even though we've tried really hard to work with researchers, this has led to kind of slanging matches going back between both sides, us saying we can take you out and show you what we can do, and the researchers saying we don't want you to take us out and show us what you can do because we know you can't do it. So it's a self-defeating argument. We try to help the researchers, but the researchers say, well, why would you do such a thing? Why would you make circles? And my reaction has always been the same. Initially, to see whether they could be done, because I was a researcher once, a long time ago, into crop circles, and I was interested by Colin Andrews and his descriptions of what you'd find in a crop circle. And I thought, wow, you know, these things, crop circles, they're amazing, because unlike any other area of the paranormal that disappears pretty soon after you see it, like ghosts or a UFO or something like that, you know, where you can't get your hands on it. With crop circles, you can get your hands on them. They're still there afterwards. There's something to be investigated, there's something to be looked at. So in the early days, I wanted to know whether or not crop circles could be created by people. So what better way to do that than to actually create some myself and see how people reacted. So initially, just for research purposes, I created a few crop circles. And even though they were not elaborate and they weren't very well designed, the execution of them was rather sloppy by the standards that myself and others would class ourselves capable of today. Strangely enough, these sad examples of early crop circles that I created were received glowingly by the research community. And they loved them, and they counted them in with the rest of the crop circles that are out there and said, yes, amazing lay patterns, definition, swirl effects in the corn. And, you know, I was thinking, hang on a minute, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing, and people were saying they liked this stuff. So, as my skill progressed, in what I could do, of course, people just loved it more and more. So, what I was seeing was crop circle researchers going out into the fields after we made these circles and enthusing about our work. And this initially led me to want to carry on, because I thought, well, this is quite exciting to see how far you can take this and to see where people will, you know, sort of catch you out and find out what you're doing. And they never did. They never did find us when we were out there in the fields. It's impossible to get caught, really, unless you're actually shining torches around and screaming and shouting. You disappear into the darkness. The sound of your crunching the corn down is really a white noise. It's like the same noise you get through a tree, you know, with the wind blowing. It's a rushing sound. It's a shh, shh. And all of these sounds tend to blend into each other at night, so that if you hear these sounds at a distance, if you are capable of hearing them, the brain tends to filter them out, so that it thinks that what you're actually hearing is something closer by, like a nearby tree, when it might in fact be the sound of something actually going on in that field. So we found out that we were able to do a number of things in front of people and impress them. But what kept me actually going was the fact that as a UFO researcher, I came into the subject having had UFO sightings in South Wales. Then I went round and interviewed people and did a magazine called Truth Seekers Review. I got to, after that first experience of seeing a UFO in South Wales, which was just a simple triangular light on the side of this mountain. I didn't know whether or not it was a fire, in fact. I mean, I was looking at it and thinking, that's a fire, and looking away. And then my brain kind of registered after I'd driven past the point where I could see this anymore. And my brain registered much later on and said, hang on a minute, what was that thing you saw? What was that strange thing you saw? And I never did work it out, and I still haven't worked it out to this day. But what I do know is that from that point onwards in my life, strange things started to happen to me. And I saw ghosts, and I saw strange things that shouldn't be there. I went to clairvoyance, and I went to spiritualist churches, and strangely enough, having never been in these things before, I would sit down at the back of the hall, formulate a question in my mind, and then have the person at the front, but never met them before, and never been to this spiritualist church before, just came there randomly out of the blue, and have them immediately give me the exact answer to the question I'm formulating in my mind, and to tell me things about people that I know that passed on, and specific things, and friends of mine having, you know, names of their mother given to them, and this sort of stuff. And I know you kind of hear people going, oh yeah, but they kind of generalise, no, not in this case, not in my case. I don't know how people take going to things like spiritualist churches, but I would recommend it. I would give it some time. Don't just believe, you know, that these things are sort of, you know, to be dismissed. But making crop circles, for me, started a roll of UFO events, things that happened to me, things that we saw whilst we were out making circles, and also things we saw when we weren't making circles. Strange coincidences that we had in making a design and then having another team go out to the same field on the same night and make a very similar type of design, and neither team knew that we were there in the same field. These synchronicities and these strange things that happened to me in my life, I can say went up by a great factor when I started making circles. So initially, I have to say that it was just for research, just to see whether it could be done. But by the end of my making circles, and up to 2000, when I was actually arrested for making crop circles, I must say that I think that it increased the paranormality in my life. And for that reason, I take crop circles very seriously. And I don't see them as being something that is just out to fool people. I think what they operate as are magic talismans, and that the energy of the people that make them can affect the way that people experience things in crop circles afterwards. And because of this, we always try, when we make a crop circle, to put positive energy into what we're doing. Because we don't want people to go into the crop circle and have a bad time, and we don't want people to go into the crop circle and feel ill. And we don't want people to say, well, this is a rubbish circle. We want them to say, this is something that excites me, and this is something that has given me a strange experience, in the same way as we've had strange experiences sometimes when making them. So I think most circle makers, whether or not they come from the we're artists school, or whether or not they come from the sort of paranormal side, and quite a few circle makers have kind of got onto this idea now that it's important what energies you put into circles. So there's the two camps, there's the art side and there's the paranormal side of circle makers. But I think all sides would agree that even if they're just making these circles because it's art and they want people to see their wonderful work and have it photographed from the air and appear in newspapers and basically publicise their art in this form, or whether or not they're the paranormal types of persons who believe that these things do actually carry energy, we all agree on one thing. We've seen a lot more UFOs, and we've had a lot more strange things happen to us in our lives since making crop circles. So, I think I've got a thing in my pocket which allows me to change the slides here. Let me just see where it is.
Oh, it's changed.
Oh, did I just press it? Okay. There you go. Sorry, Dave.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm going to go through tonight is some of the strange experiences I've had and how I think that relates to crop circles. So I'm going to skip on and show you. This is the White Horse up on the left-hand side in Alton Barnes, and this is Adam's Grave on the right-hand side. And I've had a lot of strange experiences in this area, doing night watches as a ufologist, and also being a circle maker. And I took a UFO photo, which I'll show you. Oh, hang on, I've got it in the wrong order. Let me just double check what I'm doing here. There we are. Right, okay, I'll tell you about the UFO in a minute then. So anyway, strange experience. No drugs involved. No alcohol involved. I have taken drugs in my life. I've definitely drunk a lot in my life. But I can tell you the experiences that I've had with people have been stone cold sober when making crop circles. There's been one or two occasions when I've experimented with taking things for a bit of fun to make a crop circle, but 9 out of 10 times you could say, you know, completely not even 1 pint of alcohol in my system. And yet, on one night, I was sitting on Knapp Hill, which is the car park where people look over the east field, and from this point, you can generally see if, you know, there's a crop circle appears in the morning. It's a great place to observe these things as they appear. And I was settling down for the night because I was basically living in my car at that time. I decided to sort of come from South Wales, let's spend a load of time in Wiltshire, skywatch, and make crop circles. Now, people didn't know I was a circle maker at the time, but anyway, I was there in my car, I was trying to get some sleep, and I saw a red light on the top of the hill. Now, Adam's Grave is an ancient hill fort, and it's often known that people will see balls of light, which are known as the amber gambler, or golden balls of light, which will come up above the hill, hover, and dropped down. Now, I saw a little light which looked like a torchlight, and I thought, oh, I wonder who's up there. So I got my binoculars out and I looked up, and I could see a figure, a guy with a coat on, like a wax jacket, and he was pacing back and forth on top of the hill. And that's a representation of, you know, sort of what the guy would have looked like. Imagine it's very dark, obviously, but he was pacing and he was looking down at the ground, and he wasn't really, you know, it didn't look like he was, you know, he was on his own basically, and he looked bored, you know, he just looked like he was sort of doing this on his own. And I thought, I wonder what he's doing then. Why did he have that light? I wonder if he's signalling to somebody who's making a crop circle in the East Field. So I thought, well, let's keep an eye on him and see what he does. So in the next 5 minutes, I watched him, and you know, he didn't seem to do very much. And then I decided that was a bit boring, so I sort of, you know, put the binoculars down, and then I decided a couple of minutes later, oh, let's just check on him again. And strangely enough, now there were a load of people around him, and they looked like they were hunched over, doing what I could best describe as a Native American dance. And they were dancing around this figure. So he's still there, and these people are sort of doing this sort of business and dancing in a circle around this chap. I thought, that's a bit weird. Where did they come from? Where were they hiding? You know, this peak of a hill, there's not much to sort of shroud people away, and suddenly there were all these people there. But the funny thing was, as I kind of glinted through what was going on, I could see that this guy was still in the middle, and he was still walking along, like as if he wasn't taking any notice. And I thought, if I was up there now and I had all these people dancing around me, I'm not going to be looking down at the ground, and in some way you're going to interact with whoever's there, you're going to acknowledge them or at least look at them. But this guy almost looked like as if he couldn't see these people, and I thought, that's really strange, why is he doing that? So I got up, I had a pair of night vision binoculars, and I got them up and I had a look, and I could see a strange speckling appearing just off the figures that were actually dancing around the central figure. And I thought, that's strange, you know, there's a lot of speckling, which you do get on night vision, but you'd get it all over the place. You wouldn't get it in one specific area, but it was off the bodies of these people. And I thought, I've got to get up there, I've got to find out what's going on. So I started to sort of get myself together, get a coat on, and I was just about getting ready to go, and I thought, well, I've got to have one last look before I get to go up the hill now, so let's get ready. So I had a quick look with binoculars, and now the figures had actually shrunk down, so they were almost like children now, and you could see the top of the person, and you could see the figures here. So it's almost like they became children, and they were actually sort of coming around chest height. And I thought, I've got to get up there now. So I locked the door on the car, and I basically ran full pelt to the top of the hill, and there was nobody there. Not even one person there. And I don't have any explanation as to what that was, but as I say, you know, I was totally stone cold sober, and yet a very strange experience in a place that is known and famed for strange experiences. And I basically done a zoom shot so you can see, and it was kind of like that, and lots of speckles coming off the edge. So, also, it's kind of like when you look through night vision, you sometimes get speckling off some objects, and this was interesting because it's a helicopter seen at night through night vision, and it kind of has that speckling on the blade, and I thought it represented, you know, the sort of energetic quality that can be seen on night vision that you don't normally see, and maybe there was something there that was producing an energy that could be seen on the night vision, which you wouldn't normally see with your eyes through binoculars. So, right. Okay, now the next slide, when it comes up, oh, there we go. I think that's the first one. It's a bit bleached, this. I think it's the video projector, it's just bleaching it out, but we've got a couple of different shots. I took a photo of the white horse during daylight because I connect with this particular feature, so I just went along, I had a new camera, and I thought, right, let's take a photo of the white horse, see what it comes out like when I get home. And when I got home, there was something there. Now, again, it's not easy to see there, but zoomed in, there we are. So I come prepared for these types of situations. It's a bit darker in that one. Yeah, so that's been artificially darkened, but there was this strange light that was up there in the clouds, which I didn't see with my eyes, but appeared on the camera. And to me, it looked almost like a triangular shape. It seems to have that sort of sides to it. That's just my interpretation on the left there, and that's a close-up of what it was. Now, people do see balls of light in and around crop circles. I've seen them when I've been making crop circles. We got chased out of a field one night when we thought we'd been rumbled by farmers, and it's one of the only times we've ever really been scared making a crop circle. We tend to go on our feelings now, and I've proved to myself that it's worth actually going with your feelings on what is right to do and what is wrong to do. If something feels wrong, walk away. If something feels right, definitely do it. And we've kind of proven this to ourselves by one night we were making a circle, and we were going to make a circle, and we could see people in the field. And they were at the top of the field with what looked to us like a sort of satellite dish at first. And I said to my friend, there's no way we can make a circle this close to those people, because it's crazy. The moon is out, it's clearly visible, we can see them, they can see us. And I said, I tell you what, I'm going to go up there and find out what they're doing. So I walked to the top of the field, came through the people, put my collar up and just sort of, evening, as if I was walking along. You do get a lot of people hanging around fields, and there was already a crop circle in that field, so we were going to do another crop circle in the field that already had one crop circle in it. And these people didn't seem to take much notice of us, but they had a telescope, so they were set out to do sky watching that night. So I went back to my friend and I said, mate, they can see us. I can see across the field, no problem from their position. So it'd be crazy to do this. I said, but you know what? I get this really strange feeling that it would be a good thing to do this, and that we can do it. He said, you know what? I really feel that too. And this is strange coming from my friend, because Paul is quite he's a guy that can get scared quite easily, and he would walk away from anything that would be risky, and to hear him say, yeah, I kind of get what you mean, I feel that too. And it's like, between us, we agreed it was a good idea to continue making that circle. The lunacy of it is that we should have been seen, and we should have been heard, but we weren't, and we made a very nice circle. But fascinated to know what the people had said they'd seen, because they must have seen something and heard something, I sought out who were those people. I found out who they were. And I said, because they didn't know I was a circle maker, so they basically told us their story. They said, it's really weird, we were doing a skywatch, and suddenly this fog bank came down over this part of the field, and we could see the stars, but we couldn't see the field. And then in the morning, it lifted off, and there was a crop circle there. And that is just one of a string of amazing stories I can tell you about feeling like you can or can't create a crop circle, and going with those feelings. One negative one, and it is one of the only negative ones, because we've generally, after this experience, we listened to our feelings, and if it didn't feel right, we walked away. We had a night which was near a place called Torsmead Copse in Wiltshire, and it didn't feel right. It felt wrong. Something wasn't right with the energy of the group, the way we felt. We walked into the field and tried to select a place to actually start making the circle, and we couldn't even decide where to start. It's just like, no, up there, no, go a bit further down, no, that's no good. We just couldn't get started. And when in fact, I said, look, come on, let's start, okay? We're never going to get anywhere with this indecision. Let's just start. Let's carry on and start making the circle. We only just started scribing the circle, and suddenly 3 lights came on at 3 corners of the field. So like there, and like there. And one corner of the field didn't have a light on it. And these 3 lights came on, and the instant thought in our minds were that somebody was on each corner of the field and that they'd spotted us, either coming in or starting to make the circle. And now that they were heading towards us, because these balls of light started moving in across the crop, and they were heading into our position. So immediately everybody knew what to do. We always have a general idea of an escape route if something goes wrong. So we all gathered together in a group, and we said, right, let's go. And basically the only route we could take was the route that didn't have balls of light shining, coming across the crop. So we ran, got out of the field, and we knew we were far enough away, and we were looking back, and we could see that the balls of light had converged on the point where we were. Now, at the time, I didn't process exactly what I'd seen because of the adrenaline to get out of the place, but afterwards we had a chat about this. But I'll tell you a little bit more about what happened next. We left our friend with the boards, and we said we're going to get in the car and come back, pick you up. So just be ready, okay? We'll come down the road and we'll flash our lights, which is what we normally do to kind of show that we're not just any old car, and we're not a police car. We'll flash our lights, then the person comes out from their hiding place, and we jump in the car and off we go. So anyway, we come down the road, and lo and behold, walking up the centre of the road with the boards in his hand like this, was Paul. As I said, he's quite an easy guy to scare, and he really was scared this night, and he's walking up the middle of the road with the boards. And I stopped the car, and I get out, and I said, get in the car, get in, what are you doing, man? We could have been a police or anything, And he's like, I don't care, I just want to get out of here, just get me out of here. And I'm like, well, get in, what's the matter? He's like, there's no way I was going to stay there. He said, I just heard screaming sounds that are like a demon or something. He said it was like female screaming, yeah? I said, oh, it must be a fox or a badger or something like that. He goes, no mate, no way, this wasn't. He said, this was terrible. He said, I couldn't stay there. And we said, well, you're okay, come on, let's go home. And we went home and we had a chat about what had happened that night. And the strange thing is that we all remember that these balls of light that were on the edges of the field, we all remember the same colour, and we all remember that we saw the balls of light moving across the top of the crop without any shaking and without any jerking. And if these were torchlights, surely you'd have had the beam of the torch coming across the crop going up and down, and bearing in mind that if you're not going in a straight line along a tram line to walk through the field, you'll be stepping up over the crop, and you'll be basically bumping yourself as you're running through the crop. It's not easy to run in a straight line. So whatever it was managing to make its way across the field to our position and wasn't moving like a torchlight. And 3 of them on all corners of the field. Now that, to me, is strange. And, looking back on it now, we went against our instincts, or I did, in fact. I mean, I made a decision where everything seemed like it was going wrong that night. It even seemed like we couldn't operate to even scribe the simplest of circles. There was something blanking out our ability to be able to operate. And I decided, no, I want to fight this. I want to fight against the feeling that we're not supposed to be working here, rather than the feeling we get, yes you can, no we can't, I'm going to fight it. And what did we have? We had quite a strange, quite scary experience, really. We thought we were going to get caught. Paul had the screaming. It just to us, it sort of makes you think that you should listen to your feelings, that those are important. Because in the same way as we try to put positive energy into the circles, maybe if we're going against what is meant to be, then that circle would have had a negative energy. So, but as an experiment, I decided to try to see what would happen, and those were the reactions. So there's lots of other strange things being photographed by people in crop circles. There's an orb, which is photographed by one circle maker. Strange orb. Another orb, photographed by another circle maker. A disc-shaped object. So, you know, there's lots of strange things that get seen in the daytime and at night by circle makers. I was just going to give you a little example of one circle I created. So, oops. This is the original. Basically, this is the original one. And we were asked to make a recreation circle for a film which was being made. So we went out at night under real conditions and we created the circle, and when the sun came up we just made sure that it was looking as good as we possibly could get it. You know, so we did work into the daylight, but we were able to do that on this occasion because we paid the farmer, or the film people had paid the farmer. But that's the original, and that's the one we created afterwards. So just to give you an idea of, you know, what we are capable of, and researchers were present watching us do this. And strangely enough, when you don't tell people that a crop circle is made by people, it has an energy, and people will have strange things happen. If you tell people that the crop circle is made by people, the energies go away. People start becoming disinterested, and quite often researchers will say, well, you know, we didn't pick anything up in this circle, it was boring, not interested in it. So there is some benefit to actually keeping what we do as circle makers quiet and letting people just make up their own minds. And we do the occasional demonstration circle, and we'll explain to people how it works to help them understand. But it's a good thing that crop circles are actually kept as a secret art form, and that circle makers don't sign their circles and don't claim them by signing them that way. And it's an unusual art form because what other type of art is out there which is on such a scale, which is anonymous? I mean, you know, it's kind of like it's a spiritualized Banksy in some respects, I suppose. It's you know, it's a form of graffiti, but it's more than graffiti because it has energy. Some people can feel like they've been healed in crop circles, and some people have spiritual experiences. So it's a different type of art, but it works best when kept secret. So just a couple more examples of some crop circles. I did this one for the News of the World. It was done in daylight, but that was because they wanted to make photographs of us doing it whilst we were doing it. This was done for a Japanese researcher. Again, at the time the farmer was paid, the farmer agreed to keep it secret. The researcher that asked us to do it kept it secret, and many in the crop circle community to this day will not have it that this was a man-made formation, but yet the farmer was paid, and you know, we actually documented ourselves doing it. So it just goes to show, you know, people have got their ideas and their beliefs, and they won't have them changed by circle makers. This is something that we did down in New Zealand. We were asked to go down to New Zealand, and some people said, oh, that's a conspiracy. Why did, you know, because, you know, Matthew Williams must be a government agent. He's trying to disinform about the crop circles, you know. They found a conspiracy theory in the fact that we've been asked to go to New Zealand to make a crop circle. And there's a very simple answer to why we went to New Zealand. A, Japanese TV have got far too much money. B, it was winter time in the United Kingdom. And if you go to Australia and New Zealand, it's their summertime. So in winter, when they come to us to ask us where are the crop circles, we say, sorry Japs, you've come at the wrong time of the year. And they go, oh, wrong time of the year? Oh, but we wanted you to make us some. So we can't make one. It's wrong time of the year. And they said, oh, we fly you around the world. You make one around the world. Okay. So that just puts that to bed, you know, that there's, you know, no conspiracy behind why we would make one in New Zealand other than the seasons. So, and it's a replica, again, of another circle that appeared. So it was to show that one that people held in high esteem, that, you know, was definitely alien-made, could easily be recreated in the dark. And we did this in complete darkness. This was one that was done without even a design. There was a bit of spare time in the morning, and I said, come on, why don't we just knock another one out in the morning? And we did this one without even a design. So this was just out of my head. And you can see down on the left-hand side, I actually changed my mind on something, because there's a bit that's scribed in. Then I stopped and thought, no, I'm in the wrong place here, and I'll stop. Because I wasn't working with the design, you know, it was just in my head. And I was able to produce that. So, Some of the circle makers, I'll just run through some faces. Will Russell works for the London team of circle makers. He believes in paranormal stuff. My friend Matt Bevan, who's a very famous computer hacker called Coogee, who's in the news, he's come out and made quite a few circles with us. He lives in Wiltshire now. That's Paul, that used to make circles with us. He's now living in America. This guy has to remain anonymous because he doesn't want it affecting his job, but he came down to New Zealand with us. This guy is one of the best circle makers out there, and you will not find many crop circle researchers who can tell you who this guy is. And he's one of the biggest and best circle makers in the country. So, strange things in crop. This photograph was taken by Robert Fisher, and Robert lives in Bristol, and he was out with his camera using black and white film and decided to take some photos of the DNA formation in the East Field. And when he got home, he found these strange figures in the field. Now there are subsequent shots where you actually see these figures leaving the circle. What's interesting about this is that if you look at the negative and you look at the lowest levels of dark and black in the object, in the negative, you actually see that these black figures are actually much darker than the darker levels in the negative. So they're completely black. It's almost like a subtraction of light off the negative. And as I say, there are subsequent photos where you can see the figures actually leaving the crop. Now, we've seen black figures when we've been making crop circles. And we've been out making a circle, and I myself have had reason to think, hang on a minute, that's, there's John, and there's blah, and there's blah, and who's this extra person here? And then I've thought to myself, and I had to recount, and there's an extra person. And then I've gone over to the extra person and looked at the other persons, and then there's one missing from over there. So we've been counting extra people and not been able to find this extra person. It's happened to me, it's happened to Paul, it's happened to a number of other teams out there. Black figures. Some people have even said they've seen circles being formed. Now I take question with this because I know that there's the classic story of the Julia set, and the pilot flew over and he didn't see the crop circle, and then he flew back and the crop circle was there. So it must have appeared in 20 minutes, so they said. Now, being a pilot myself, I know that there's a thing called object fixation, and what you do is you tend to sort of look at one thing and exclude others, and you sometimes, from the air, don't see things in the same dimensions and same shapes as you see them on the ground. So something as obvious as a huge airfield, a massive airfield with concrete strips or a big grass strip, you just look straight across it and back, and you look across it and you can't see it, and you can look and you can look and you can look and you can't see it, and then suddenly when you twig what you're looking at, it all draws in, bang, 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 bang. There's an airfield, and you go, right, there's an airfield. But because your brain hasn't adjusted to what you're looking at, you sometimes don't see things. But I digress, because basically a lot of crop circles appear that people say appeared in a short amount of time. Now, last year was a classic example. There was one that appeared in the East Field. East Field is a very popular place for these. And it was something that appeared, I think it was on the 7th of the 7th, 07. I think that's what the date, so it was a significant date. And people were on the hills with their night vision cameras looking down into the field. And night vision cameras, unless they are BBC quality, and a lot of people will tell you, I've got the best night vision camera in the world, yeah, how much it costs? £1,000. Well, theirs cost about 200 grand. They're a different class altogether. Stuff you can buy in Maplins, it's got very, very low resolution, it will speckle a lot, and you can kind of see people, I can see you in the audience now, but anything further than that, and forget it, Shapes in a cornfield and also people working wouldn't be seen. So these people on the hills, we know we're basically safe. We've used this equipment, we know it doesn't work. You can't see people in the field. But they were there, and because a circle appeared in the morning, and they'd been using their equipment, they then came to the brilliant conclusion, well, nobody could have made that because we would have seen them. So, an extra story was then put on top of this, that the circle had appeared within a space between about 1:45 and, say, well, I can't remember exactly what they said now, but it was a crazy time. It was like 20 minutes, they reckon, it took for this thing to appear. The evidence they put forward was that their cameras had actually observed a bright flash, then the time had changed on the camera, and then the circle was there. Now, being into video, I actually looked at this, and knowing a little bit about the circle and who'd done it, I was given permission by the circle making team to actually talk about it on their behalf, because they didn't want to come out and have their faces known and get into trouble, you know, with whoever. So I spoke on their behalf. But the time that the cameras were put on, initially showing throughout the night up to about 1:45, then there's a flash, then the cameras jump to about 4 in the morning. The time code on the camera shows a definite change. So crop circle researchers were touting this as being, no, at 1:45 there's a flash and bang, then there's a crop circle. But what they didn't show you was 1:45, bang, there's a tape change. And then you've got daylight, and you can see the circle in the daylight. You can see it's daylight. It was dark, now it's daylight. But this was put forward as, oh, you know, this crop circle appeared in this short space of time. So I put it back to them, and I said, no, that's not how it happened. You know, you basically need to go and have a look at this. And some researchers did come on board, and they said, yeah, we can see what you're saying. Actually, if we increase the contrast right up, we can see there was a circle there before 1:45. But it still doesn't stop a lot of other researchers saying, that's absolute nonsense. They're just telling you this to take you away from the truth. The truth is that it appeared in 20 minutes and it cannot be denied. But I mean, I was able to help them to understand that this was done in a short space of time. It wasn't done in a short space of time, sorry. Freudian slip there. We've got any more photos. Let's just have a little look on. So that's the photos. Let's just see if I've missed any of the interesting stories. We've got 20 minutes, so... Okay. Flashes of light seen. Very common. All circle makers report this, that whilst you're making circles, you'll have flashes that come across the sky and don't appear to be with thunder. You haven't got the thunder sound. But it's like, it's a strange flash. It's not like it comes from a particular area. It's almost like as if there's a flash all around you, or a flash, and it's almost like as if it's a flash on your eyes themselves. And we told a number of researchers about this, and they were like, oh yeah, right, you know, just one of those stories just to make it sound more interesting as a circle, maybe, yeah, okay. And we said, you know, come out with us. Come out and we'll try and show you these things. We hope you see them. And one guy, Rodney Ashby, who was a scientist, came out and saw these flashes for the first time in his life when he was with us. And he said, this is so weird. I've been like watching for years. I've never seen this. But now I'm with you guys, and I'm seeing these strange flashes. And I said, hey, welcome to my world. You know, this strange stuff happens to us all the time. And it's really hard to get people to believe you because, you know, they have to be there. They have to see it with you. So, a red ball of light flew past the White Horse one night towards Pewsey, and it was witnessed by us outside, very similar area to where I took the photo from that road, and we saw this ball of light travelling across, and then we realised there was a helicopter chasing it. So I got out of the car and we got out a big spotlight, a big searchlight, and we shone it at the helicopter. And this temporarily blinded the pilot, who then broke off from chasing this ball of light, which carried on going, and the helicopter stopped in the field. Then came over us, hovered, and as it was hovering, we realised, oops, this is the wrong helicopter to be messing with. It had missiles, it was fully loaded up, this thing had a lot of weaponry on it. But, you know, I was kind of like, yeah, well, you know, what's he doing chasing that ball of light? You know, what's all that about? So I kept on shining the light at it, and it was going up and down above us, basically trying to say, look, piss off. Sorry, I don't want to go to kids here. It was like, you know, so he was trying to tell us to go away, and then he gave up and he flew off. And we went, wow, that was weird. What was all that about then? You know, what the military got to do with that? Is it a drone or is it something else? But you know, we both conferred that what was happening was this ball of light was darting around at an incredible pace, and the helicopter was taking time to turn even before it could manoeuvre to where this ball of light had been going. So that's quite strange. So we took a drive up the hill, Adam's Grave, up that hill, Knapp Hill, to look down over the valley to see if there was anything going on. And as we were on our way up the hill, suddenly off to the right we saw the ball of light. So we pulled the car into the field, got out, got a camcorder out and started filming. And this ball of light shot through the field, and then all of a sudden there was a big saucer-shaped object in the sky, and it literally was just a grey outline of a saucer shape, but it didn't have any portholes or anything like that. It was just an oval shape, grey. And the ball of light that had gone out in the distance went very quickly up into it, and then this thing ascended at high speed, just jumped straight up into cloud, and went up into the underneath of the cloud so it couldn't be seen anymore. The whole thing, you know, was just a very short space of time. And the video footage, being indistinct, showing a small point of light, could be like, it looked, you know, could be a street light. It seems to sort of speckle a bit, and then you can see something which is very silhouetted, but not possible to really be made out. You can see its oval, but you can't really see its shape. And this is heavily enhanced footage, you know, video signal driven to the max to be able to see it. Anyway, we were retelling this story to people, and a Japanese TV crew came along, as they do in the summer, and said, can you retell us your story, please? We said, sure, okay, we'll tell you a story. And they did a reenactment, and we thought it was really kind of funny. You know, we were like giggling, laughing, you know, sort of trying to hold in the laughs whilst they were filming us. They were saying, like, you know, so where did you see it? It was like, it was over there. And we're like going, you know, and they're filming us, and we're like, you know, this is a bit daft, you know. And they said, okay, take us to the place where you said you saw the thing go into the saucers. We took them to the hill, and they were putting their cameras together. Somebody came along with a laser pointer, a green laser pointer. And he said, oh, look, what are you doing, guys? And it's an American, Dr. Simeon Hine, and he's overlooking at the crop circles. And we said, oh, you know, I've seen you, I've heard of you, and we've seen you with your laser pointer. That laser pointer is really powerful, you know, that's great. Go on, give us a show then, you know, show us what it's like. And so whilst the camera team were putting their cameras together to do the next shot, he shot with his laser at a cloud. And the moment he shot the laser at the cloud flashed from the centre to the edges. It went bang, bang, bang. And 3 balls of light came out. And 1 corkscrewed, and 1 zigzagged, and 1 shot off. And we all went, whoa, look, whoa, what the hell? Look, look, look. And we were like to the camera crew, look at this. And the Japanese director, producer, he was going, oh yeah, look, look, wow. And we were also like this. And we could see the guys with the cameras were sort of there. We were like, you know, look, look. And then these things went off the horizon, and we were like, wow, that was amazing, you know, what the hell was that? And as we said that, we heard the sound of a helicopter, which we hadn't heard to this point, which was hovering over a banking, which was where we were standing, because we drove into this field and it drops down into a lower area. And beside us, from nowhere, in this small enclosure of a valley, which is very small, we heard a noise which was like, and this helicopter just came up, hovered in front of us, and then went off. And we're like, what the hell is it with this area? What is it? You've shone a laser pointer at a cloud, you've got an explosion, you've got balls of light, you've got this. How can that helicopter hover silently beside us? What is that about? And then we said, so did you catch that, to the Japanese TV crew? And he obviously spoke to them in Japanese. He said, so did you get that? Did you get that? And then the producer was like, oh, no. And I was like, what is it? What is it? Did they get it? And he says, no, they were filming our faces. They thought we were doing a reaction. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's like you've got broadcast equipment, you've got witnesses, and you missed that. But life's like that, you know, the experiences you have, sometimes you've got to be there. And Wiltshire is definitely a very high activity area for these things. And as I say, since making crop circles, my involvement in seeing these things has gone up. So I would recommend it to people. I would recommend go out and give it a try. Obviously it's illegal. I mean, I got arrested for it, and you know, if you're going to do it, be careful who you tell. And if you're going to do it, don't do it on such a scale that you're going to cheese off the farmers. If you meet the farmer the day afterwards, suggest to them that they should put an honesty box on the field, because the crop is usually worth about £20, and with the combine, with the blades lowered slightly, it picks up all the flattened crop anyway, so they don't really lose any money at all, or very minimal. And if they charge, say, £1 entry to a person, and they get 30 or 40 people, and the crop's only worth 20 quid, they've made a tenner. But if they're like some of the farmers in Wiltshire, who get the big circles of beer, and they put honesty boxes on them, they make thousands of pounds, and they've admitted this to us. So it's not always as bad as people make out for the farmers. Are you here to tell me about 10 minutes?
I was actually here to tell you, I have no idea what time you came on, but I forgot the time.
I think it was 7:30.
But if you could wrap up there.
Will do, sir, yes. Okay, coincidences. Same people making circles in the same field, same night. Other people making designs in different parts of the country on the same night, but they didn't know what we were going to do. A friend, circle maker, Danny, was trying to convince his girlfriend that being a circle maker was actually a good thing, and he was actually doing it for good reasons. And he was telling her that, the circles kind of tell you that it's not all about money. It's not all about, wanting to own the crop circle and to make money out of it. And he was telling his girlfriend that basically, it shows you that like money is worthless, And as he said this, a piece of monopoly money floated across the crop circle. And he was like, what? And it's like he didn't put that there, and this thing floated across the crop. I think that some of the circle makers have been given inspiration to do certain designs, and I think that we've done them to the best of our ability to actually help create positive experiences. So I think that when strange things like that happen, it's something else giving us a little pat on the shoulder and saying, yeah, there you go, we're out there, we're looking down on this. And it's not necessarily that because human circle makers are out there making the circles, that what happens afterwards to people in the circles is anything to do with us. Once we finish and leave a circle, the energies that are left behind and the things that happen to people, I can't take responsibility for that. I am not a magician. I do not have special powers. I'm not even, I'm nothing special at all. None of the circle makers really, apart from being interested in geometry and shapes, we're all just normal people. So my message to you would be, don't trust me. Don't listen to what I've said. Imagine that I might be telling you a load of old nonsense, but test what I'm saying and see if you can prove it. Go out there and make some circles and see how people react. Then you'll know that what I'm saying about people saying they couldn't be the work of humans, that's true. And also, if you put good energies into the circles, if you put positive energy in, see how those circles affect people differently to the ones where you haven't tried to put any type of energy in at all. See how people will test these circles and put them through labs and find more energies and more microwave damage that they claim is there. Test these things out. And it's something you can do. This is not something that's complicated. Any of you can do this, and you'll see the effects. And I think those effects will be positive for you in your life. And ask for inspiration. Ask for help. And if the energy feels right, and it feels like you can do something, do it. And if it doesn't feel right and you're not sure, walk away. Use your feelings when you're making circles. Intuit what you're meant to be doing. And I think that works too. So when we've asked for help on occasions, we've got it. There was one night when I said, it's raining, I wanted to stop raining, you know, and I just basically said, you know, if there's anything out there, because I do believe there's something out there, you know, I'm getting wet here, and this is really boring, and it stopped raining. Only above us, where we were doing the circle, and an oval shape, another oval shape, an oval shape appeared in the clouds. And we went outside the line of the circle, and it was raining, and we went back in, and it wasn't raining. And I said to the circle maker, I said, are you seeing this? Are you experiencing this? Is this just me? Am I suggesting to you, and are you just going along with me? Or is this really what's happening? Because I asked for it to stop raining, and it's just stopped raining. These things, they're too weird to be just believed, because they're fantastic. But what I say to you is, try these things. Try connecting with the other that's out there, and maybe these things will happen to you as well. And I think that would be quite nice for all of you to have that experience. It's not scary, it's nothing to be frightened of, it's just that you're connecting with what is out there that a lot of people, most daily life, don't see and don't want to experience. They would actually rather not know if they were ghosts, and it would upset their lives to kind of have that experience. But to me, I think, well, if there is something like a ghost world or a spirit world, something that we can connect to and can give us just a gentle nudge in the right direction to know that we're not alone and that these things are positive, then that's a good thing. And you can connect with that, and that's what I think crop circles are about. So on that note, I think I'll say thanks very much.
This man says he can't do miracles, but he can fly. Did you know, I don't know if you said this in your talk, did you? This man was supposed to drive down today. I got a phone call last night. He's only landed in a microlight half a mile outside the village. This actually makes the weird weekend even weirder than it usually is, because I've never actually had the Birdman who devised this before.
The Birdman of the Rhondda Valleys.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a half-hour break. There is food, very, very nice food, very, very delicious food. It smells gorgeous. I'm going to have some too in a minute, which is the proceeds from which are going to several of the village charities, including the Sunflowers, who are the preschool group, and the Tiny Tots, and two other people who I've completely and utterly forgotten who they are, but I'll tell you about it afterwards. We've got a half-hour break, and for those of you who came up to me earlier, and I told you that one of my speakers was lost up the M5, Tim Matthews is in the house. He has just arrived. He wants to see you, Mr. Williams. He's in the bar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk later on. I'll see you in about half an hour when you come back for the lovely Pontiac.